devices.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates every single day the people who make coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hey, we have a great guest today. I'm going to be visiting with my friend Mark Henderson from the Lazy Magnolia. And, he owns or has a bunch of patents on sophisticated radar technology, and he's a great entrepreneur with his wife. So we'll come back to Mark here in just a second. But let me ask my friend Kyle to come into the conversation for a second. And first of all, just say good morning, Kyle. How are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. You've been wrestling with some technology issues this morning, huh, buddy?
Yeah, it's one of those that starts, bright and ugly at 5:30 a.m. and hasn't stopped yet.
Hey, listen, I was reading, I came up across this story in one of my readings this morning. It was on modern retail. And there used to be three major delivery companies: FedEx, UPS, and the U.S. Postal Service. And, they kind of competed with one another and whatever. Not long ago, Amazon decided to get in the delivery business. And now the story says essentially that it has begun shipping more parcels than FedEx now. Think about that for a minute. In the short time they've been in business. Mark will probably have something to say about this when we get to him in a second. But the fact is that they're in the logistics business. That's what they do. And so they're ahead of FedEx. And they're almost at a shipping level of UPS. That's incredible. I'm not surprised by that, but it is amazing how fast they've gone from essentially zero shipping to being number two and soon to be number one. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's tremendous growth, and it's kind of, you sit back and look at it and go, well, what took them so long to decide to do it on their own?
Well, okay, so look, in 2020, they delivered 4.2 billion shipments. Think about that, 4.2 billion. That's up 1.9 billion from 2019. Of course, we all know this, that they may say that they're in the business of delivering products and whatever, and the products are the business there, but they're not actually. They're in the technology and logistics business, and they found that delivering products is a way for them to make money. And if they could figure out another way to use their logistics and their technology, they would do that too. And they certainly are doing that on a number of different levels. But it is impressive. My wife uses Amazon from time to time, and I can attest to the fact that we see more boxes from Amazon than we do see from anywhere else. And I'm sure you see the same thing.
Well, yeah, part of it, they make their own numbers go up because they'll ship in one order. They'll ship them in 5 different boxes. And they all come from the same place, majority. Yeah. So I
don't know how they do that. They know how they do that.
They're padding the numbers. That's what they're doing.
Amazon's $1 trillion company now. They figured it out. I'm not going to argue with that success. Hey, look, we announced this week, and we talked about it with Steve Azar yesterday, but we announced this week that you're going to be producing SuperTalk Outdoors with me as the new host. Every Monday from noon to 1. I can't wait to do that show with you. You and I are going to get an opportunity to meet some amazing people who are big personalities in the outdoor arena, advocates and ambassadors for the state of Mississippi. I'm looking forward to working with you on that, buddy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a new great challenge for especially for myself. I'm looking forward to it. Like to see where it goes.
Yeah. Hey, so okay, look, we work with Kenny Vest. And as we talked about yesterday, Steve Azar gave us the permission to use his song, One Mississippi. And Kenny, like I said yesterday, listened to the show over 100 times to pull out pieces of it that you can use on, the beginning of the show and after the show. Let's play one little segment for people who might have missed that yesterday. Let's play a little segment of what it's going to sound like.
Putting our differences to the side and talking about something we all love.
In our old man river, lavish lakes and streams, pines full of the wildest life and possibility. I said, one Mississippi, there's a magnolia tree.
It's SuperTalk Outdoors with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Man, what I said to you guys, that if I had Mindy, who's a graphic artist, and Kyle, who's a producer, and Kenny Vest, who's an amazing leader and producer, and James Wynn, who's a digital expert, and this incredible team at SuperTalk, if I had them to work with every day, I probably would still be working today. No, I wouldn't actually. I wouldn't still be working today. But what a great team to work with. I've never seen people who are so open to input and change and so creative. We have a great team, don't we, my friend?
We do. And, you know, outside of James, I've worked with every one of them for, it seems like forever. So for the most part, you know, at least with Kenny and Mindy, to some extent, I can almost know what they're thinking and what they're going to do before we actually present it. And it's just kind of, and I think they can do pretty much, they'll know how I'm going to react too. I always react more off the cuff than they do. Just my nature.
Look, here's the thing though. I love having people like you around. I want to see what your reaction is. I don't want you to hold your reaction. I want to see your reaction. It helps me improve my situation. But at the end of the day, the team at SuperTalk, the strategic direction of SuperTalk, the SuperTalk Mississippi Media, which goes beyond the SuperTalk network and into, you know, a total of 26 radio stations across the state, and then beyond that, adding the SuperTalk to what stations are in the network, 51 radio stations that the SuperTalk Mississippi network has some influence in. It's an incredible vision. And what Steve has done to build and what Kim has done to build a digital capability that's second to none. When you put radio, which has incredible viability today still, with digital capabilities, which is where the multimedia digital capabilities are going forward, when you put these things together, it's a winning combination. And it's fun to watch it. It's fun to watch it. It's fun to be part of this company. And I look forward to continuing to work with you, not only on Coast Vue, but on SuperTalk Outdoors. And I appreciate your partnerships, my friend.
You bet. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Looking forward to what's coming up next.
Yeah, you bet. Well, for what's coming up next now is my friend Mark Henderson. You may have heard his name in the news lately. He resigned from the board of Coastal Mississippi Tourism. This show is not going to focus just on that, but at some point during our conversation this morning, we'll come back and have a conversation about kind of where he is on all of that. But I want to just talk to Mark today just to see what's going on in his life. He owns Lazy Magnolia. He owns a company called Log Linear Group. They do a lot of sophisticated radar technology. We've had terrific conversations with him about where he came from, where his influences in his life are. I've often said of him that he's both a right brain guy and a left brain guy. So he's a mathematician, technology engineer kind of guy. But then he's creative. He's also an artist. He's a Renaissance man. I called Steve Azar a Renaissance man yesterday. Well, Mark Henderson's a Renaissance man. Without any further ado, let me just welcome my really good friend, Mark Henderson, to the table.
Ricky, I'm completely flabbergasted by that. That's quite the introduction. Thank you.
Well, you know what's so good about you, and people need to know that I always say you're my friend. But we don't know each other in any other way but through Coast Vue. You know, it's not like I've never set foot in Lazy Magnolia. You know, one day I'm going to come over there and have a cold beer with you. But, you know, January would be 2 years we've done this show. We got into sort of this pandemic mode 3 months after the show started, less than 3 months after the show started, and have sort of been in that mode since. And we may have bumped into each other one time at a community event since, but I call you my friend because I think we've bonded through this show. I think there's a mutual respect for each other. I really admire your passion for Mississippi, your passion for coastal Mississippi. The example you set in your entrepreneurial endeavors, you know, what you had to do after Hurricane Katrina, being the first brewery in the state of Mississippi, and the work that you had to do there legislatively. And you set so many examples. You're a trailblazer, Mark. You're literally a trailblazer. And I'm inspired by that. And I can't, you know, every opportunity I have to connect with you and to catch up with you and to be sort of motivated by you, I'm going to take that opportunity. So I'm really pleased to have that opportunity today.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know if you know this, but they, you know what they say about pioneers. Pioneers get slaughtered, settlers thrive. And I would absolutely agree with you that I've probably spent more of my life face down in the mud with arrows poking out of my back than in any other condition.
Well, again, I hate that things have transpired related to coastal Mississippi tourism, and again, we'll get there. We'll get there shortly, but the fact is, I see this as sort of the maturation process of the tourism effort, the regional tourism effort in Mississippi, or coastal Mississippi. I'm praying that it doesn't lead to the ultimate demise of regional tourism, but we'll get there in a second. How are things going these days at Lazy Magnolia? I know that in the past you talked to me about all the diversification you've done in your business, the challenges of microbrewery and bringing on water and other kinds of capabilities, but kind of where are you today?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're still post-COVID, right? Only not so much post-COVID. We're coming off of, we came off of our best July ever, and then hit our worst August ever as a result of COVID.
I hate to hear that. Why don't we do this? We're coming to the end of this segment. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mark Henderson, find out what the latest is at Lazy Magnolia, and we'll have a number of other things to talk about. We'll see you after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. His love for the coast is why he's here. It's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. You know, when you hear the name Mark Henderson, more recently, you probably think about coastal Mississippi tourism, but let's set that aside for a second. Mark Henderson is defined in so many ways. That's just one of the many, like, I want to say volunteer endeavors that he's been involved with throughout his career. But he cut his teeth as an entrepreneur in the state, and he and his wife have made fundamentally incredible investments in coastal Mississippi through their company Lazy Magnolia Brewing, and then other entrepreneurial efforts. And his company Log Linear Group have done amazing things as well. But you know, again, as I mentioned before we went to break, he's an inspiring guy. So you said you had a poor August. Was that specific to you, or did you hear this from others around the country?
No, in fact, it was kind of interesting. I mean, we saw it very distinctly, really just as our COVID numbers here on the coast and across Mississippi were ramping up, and we were like, this is just got to be COVID related. But then, I've talked to people in California, running breweries there, and they had exactly the same problem, and they're at 70% vaccination rates and did not see the resurgence that we saw. So, I mean, there was something really, really interesting going on in the economy these days. I mean, you see the stock market kind of, tipping around these days, right? Being very volatile. I think there's just some general malaise, right? And then we're also seeing labor shortages, which is true amongst everybody. And people are like, well, you're just not paying people enough, or you don't have good benefits, or you don't have a work, environment. And I'm like, man, I spoke to a brewery in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and they had exactly the same problem that we do here. And, as people have, are coming off of, large unemployment for a long period of time and trying to reestablish themselves back into a workplace, sitting around the house eating bonbons and getting paid to do it, it's hard to come back off of.
Yeah, I don't think that people generally, when I say people, maybe leaders in this country, generally understood that the mechanisms that drive this economy, and it's complicated, whether you look at it on micro level or you look at it on macro level, big picture versus what's happening, all the various pieces and how they come together, we tend to take for granted that in this free enterprise system, this great experiment we call the United States of America, that the economy is incredibly resilient. And in a lot of respect, it is. But it is a delicate balancing act. I mean, it is an unbelievably delicate balancing act. So you bring things like all of the things that came out of COVID, whether it was freezing the economic aspect for a while, stopping business for a while, whether it was not flying for a while, whether it was adding additional employment benefits for people, whatever it might be, whether it's just people being scared of COVID. Again, some of this man-made, some of this not man-made. I mean, some of this just the reality of the moment in a worldwide pandemic. But man, you have to realize that as the thing comes, as the economy starts to come back again, that this delicate balance in all these different ways is going to be challenged over and over and over again. And man, that's the case. I mean, it's really kind of hard to get your head around.
What's amazing to me is that it hits everything. So the supply chain right now is an absolute disaster. One day I can't get bottles. The next day I can't get cardboard. The next day I can't get caps. The next day I can't get cans. And I was like, all right, well, this is clearly, maybe it's just, the beverage world has changed so much because we moved so much of the business from the on-premise consumption to off-premise consumption. You saw this massive just movement from, draft and keg sales to package to go sales. But I'm in the engineering world as well, and I design printed circuit boards. And last month, I had a new board go out, and you know what? I couldn't get parts for it. And they're not like silly parts. I mean, they're not like specialized parts. These are just generic things that should be readily available. Can't get them at all. And so you hear about cars, and so we've got some weird inflation going on. For example, for us, cardboard's up 30% this year. And this breaks my heart to tell you this, but some of your listeners will actually appreciate this. For every beer that I sell, the cardboard is worth more than the liquid. and so when the cardboard has gone up 30%, you're just like, holy cow! I mean, what can we do about that? And getting pricing authority in this kind of environment is difficult, but we're seeing at least a little bit of that. Yeah. But man, we're getting squoze from both sides. That's for sure.
I was talking to my brother-in-law who owns a restaurant in Nashville, really close to Opryland, and he also owns a business in Orlando that does they do sanitation and commercial grade sewage efforts and whatever. They do tons of different stuff. Very diversified company. And I was over just sort of listening to the conversation he was having with my wife Ann, and my gosh, man! I mean, you got all these pandemic things you're dealing with, and then his number came up for a labor audit for the state of Tennessee, and then he's got all these taxes to pay, and then he's got really tons of equipment in his Orlando business, and he's carrying the carrying cost of that. I mean, that doesn't stop when the pandemic started; that just keeps going, and then new regulations coming down the pike, and all, dude. It's. And then again, this is not a show about politics. This is not a show about politics. This comment I'm about to make is not about politics. But when you think about adding more regulation, adding potentially more taxes, all of this while companies are literally in the survival mode, it proves they don't really get who's driving this economy, doesn't it, Mark?
One of the things that I struggle with is that I see on a regular basis, right? They vilify in the press, they vilify, these, CEOs and, business people and things of that nature, right? And I go, yeah, maybe there's some people that deserve the vilification. Maybe there are some people that are running these massive firms and they're doing some evil things. But most of us are just hardworking people in your community, and we do the best we absolutely can with what we got. And we are the guys who get paid last. And for the last 18 months, I have worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And at this point, I've had probably a grand total of 10 days off in the last 18 months, counting weekends. And it's brutal right now. It's burning people out. And to be vilified in the press as well, and to see that happen, you're like, man, I'm doing the absolute best I can. It hurts.
Well, the hits keep coming. the hits keep coming. Well, Ann came home the other day, and she had a pack of bacon. She was going to make bacon risotto, and which is a great recipe, I might add. Absolutely incredible cook. But she had this pack of bacon, and she said, I don't remember how much it was, but she said, this is usually this amount, and now I just paid this amount. And it was almost double the price of what it was before.
Yeah. I
said, you're kidding me. She said, Bubba, it's like this. She calls me Bubba. That's what my family calls me. Bubba, it's like this with so much of what I buy. And of course, the feds have said that it's not going to be, I'll believe this when I see it, sustainable inflation, that it is more pandemic driven, and that as supply chains straighten out and things settle down, that we'll see all of that begin to change. But if I'm in the car business, or I'm in the brewery business like you, dealing with cardboard costs, or any number of other businesses you might mention, you don't sense that things are going to settle down tomorrow, do you?
Yeah, and the problem is the planning side of it, right? So, if government runs out of money, they just print a little bit more. The day I run out of cash and can't make payroll on Thursday, I'm out of business. And in my entire life savings, 100% of the hard work that I have put in for the last 20 years goes from being worth maybe a little bit of something to being worth absolutely zero. And, people don't appreciate, unless you've lived it, unless you've actually lived the experience of having to make payroll every Thursday, so I go, hey, look, all right, cardboard went up on me yesterday. Can I charge more tomorrow? And, I'm, based on contracts and a million other things, right? I mean, we're 30, 60, 90 days out from a price increase. I can't just roll it along and, make it happen and go, oh, well, we're going to sell more for a product. And then we've got the big guys, the massive brewers, right? They've got cash wads and they've got all their equipment paid off, and, they're selling just crazy amounts of product. Well, they're going, hey, look, we're not going to increase pricing. We're going to stick it to the little guys for as long as we can. And so, I go, hey, look, I need to take a price increase. And my distributor's like, hey, man, until the big guys do it, we really don't have room to move. And so, right, it makes it challenging. Inflation is fine so long as everybody knows what to expect and when to expect it. So if inflation is running at 2% a year, you go, hey, look, you know what? I can bake that in, right? I can run pricing out. I can do it. But when it's 30%, and when you've seen transportation costs double, and you've got loads sitting on a dock that you're trying to get money for, but you can't get a driver for a truck, and that kind of stuff kills you.
Yeah, I was up at my place in the Delta, and there's this really cool little restaurant called the Top of the Hill. I'll tell you the story, and then we'll be at the end of this segment. But I noticed the steak tasted a little different, and it was a little tougher. It wasn't as marbled. And I talked to the owner. I said, look, I'm going to come back tomorrow night. I mean, he said, this is not a complaint in that I'm not going to eat here anymore. We're glad you're here, and we're going to continue to support your business. But what changed? He said, well, I'm trying some less expensive steaks. That the middleman that was providing my steaks before, the guys that provided the steaks, they didn't go up on their pricing, but the middleman did. And it's significant for me. And I would have had to double the prices on the menu, and I had to come up with a different way. So you hear that story over and over and over again. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mark Henderson. We'll see you after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalk.msGulfCoast.com.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, SuperTalk.fm, and watch the show on SuperTalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
wow.
You know, all this stuff was going on at the same time. Slash, I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Look, here on Coast View, every single morning I get this opportunity to celebrate people who are making this community such a great place to live, work, and play. And one of the people that I have really enjoyed staying in touch with is Mark Henderson, because he's extraordinarily well connected. He's passionate about this community, and he is in the trenches and has been in the trenches. I mean, his story after Katrina and what they had to do is an amazing story of determination, dogged determination, I like to say, and his determination today in the midst of all these changing market conditions and inflation pressures that are on them because of the pandemic and all of that. What a great guy to just touch base with, to really understand the situation that small businesses have to deal with. Now, we talked about Lazy Magnolia, but let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned the circuit board and your log linear group work, but in general, how is that part of your work going?
Yeah, there's some exciting things going on right now, right? I don't know if you heard the press release recently that Ocean Aero was coming to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I actually do some work with those guys, and they basically, if you wanted to describe it, they have built a large surfboard that can autonomously sail the oceans. And when weather gets bad, they can actually tuck the sail down and dive underwater and ride out the bad weather. And they're located in San Diego right now, and have just recently announced that they're going to be working, there in the port of Gulfport, and really looking forward to that. Seeing those kinds of institutions, come to South Mississippi, seeing what that means for our community. There's the new geography of jobs, right? There's been some really interesting books written over the years. And what people are finding out is that it doesn't really matter, where you live or where you're doing it. You can. There's a lot of freedom now and choice, and people are looking for good communities. And when somebody like Ocean Aero shows up in South Mississippi, I think that's a great step for Mississippi.
And when they get here, I will definitely focus more on them. But I'm excited about them coming. It brings even more clarity to the opportunities in front of us as it relates to the blue economy. People think of blue economy and it's this nebulous thing over there. Essentially, we're just strategically located on the Gulf of Mexico. Let's face it. And the opportunities, whether it be through research or R&D, obviously product development or expanding product development, like in this case, the opportunity for the blue economy is amazing. And see, what's interesting, again, Mark, here's a company that was in San Diego. They're coming to your home turf, and you happen to already be doing business with them. Man, that had to feel awesome.
It does. It says that, we're doing the right things and putting, we're in the right places. We got good skills here. People don't appreciate it, but, Hancock County has the largest population of oceanographers on the planet. Mm-hmm. And, there's some things like that where you're just like, man, that's crazy. The number of PhDs in Hancock County is just off the charts. And it's all, around those kinds of things. You talk about being strategically located. You've got, the oil industry that's just to the south of us. You've got a lot of military operations as well. And then you've got the science stuff that happens out at Stennis as well. We think of those as Stennis being the Space Center, but it's, they do a variety of things. And got a variety of Navy institutions out there that, and some on just the civilian side, right? In terms of just, weather and, all those kinds of things. It's very, very cool.
So we'll shift gears for a second. In 2013, we got legislation that created a coastal Mississippi tourism effort, and the first big regional effort since Hurricane Katrina. If you look at the legislation, you see a number of compromises that had to be made in order to get this done. In some respects, those are very understandable compromises. For example, giving more board members to Harrison County, since that's where the majority of the hotel rooms are. Giving of the 3 counties, only 1 county has to approve the marketing, has to approve the budget for coastal Mississippi tourism. Again, was part of the compromise. Okay, so it did not require, for example, for the county board of supervisors to pick people to be on the commission who, as I constantly say, has a dog in the hunt. They don't have to pick commissioners who have a dog in the hunt. And that means people who work in the industry, people who have had to invest in the industry, people who have resources and pay labor costs and have, as you said, payrolls to make every Thursday. This is important because when you have those people involved, then they can be much more aware of what their board governance responsibility really is, which is to provide sort of policy guidance and strategic guidance, and then hire really first-class leaders to lead the effort. That's the way it's supposed to work. But because there are all these nuances, it has enabled, in some cases, 2 or 3 personalities to control the entire course of history for this organization. And more recently, what you've seen is that there are 3 commissioners from Hancock County. Mark Henderson has resigned. Clay Wagner has resigned, but it may be because he's going to run for Congress. I want to make that very clear. And so there are 2 appointments to be made over there, along with Nikki Moon, who currently is a leader. Had three commissioners from Jackson County. They have, in unison, in the wake of your resignation, Mark, said that they will not come back to another meeting until an independent investigation is done of the events that led to Milton's departure, and then some other things having to do with regionalism. We're in a really interesting spot now. In your case, you had skin in the game. Nikki Moon had skin in the game. And of course, you could argue that Clay had skin in the game because Hancock Whitney, what bigger, more important bank is important to the tourism industry? I would say People's Bank is important up there with them, and there are others, but he had certainly a stake in the game. But to be sort of literally a engineer, mathematician, guy who's running multiple businesses and whatever, how frustrating was it for you that you couldn't solve this issue? You couldn't get the point across on this issue. It has to be unbelievable because you're in the business of solving problems. That's what you do as an entrepreneur, but you couldn't in this case. How frustrating is that? Man,
Ricky, it's the most frustrating thing that I have ever encountered in my entire life. And it's one of those things where I am by very nature a diplomat, right? I mean, you got to be strong when you got to be strong, but at the end of the day, real entrepreneurship is about, solving the problems, right? Putting the right people together and going, hey, look, there's a negotiated piece. And one of the great things about entrepreneurship, and there's some really good business case studies, right, where they go, hey, look, you got 3 people competing for eggs. And if everybody talked, if everybody got all together, right, you'd find out that this guy actually doesn't need eggs. He just needs eggshells. And this guy doesn't actually need eggshells. He just needs egg yolks. And this guy doesn't actually need any of the other 2. He just needs the egg whites. And if everybody would sit and talk, right, the farmer would make more money and each of these guys would pay less money and you would have this kind of optimal solution. And at the end of the day, entrepreneurship so often results in these win-win scenarios. It is the beauty of the system, right? You don't need your guns and your bullets to do business, right? We come in and we can negotiate it out. And that wasn't possible here. And I worked diligently. I have spent more time working on the Coastal Mississippi Board. It is the hardest working board I've ever been on by its very nature. And then, we've seen it through the pandemic here. where you had half the staff do almost twice the work because not knowing early on, a lot of the staff went away, were either furloughed or retired, a variety of things happened, but staffing went down. And then at the end of the year, right, the CARES Act money shows up, and all of a sudden we've got $3 million that's going to be spent in 4 months. And the total budget for that organization has been historically in that $4.5 million a year range. And so we basically had almost an entire year's budget that had to be spent and executed in a quarter of the year. And I mean, you're just coming off all of those things, tensions are high, right? There's just a lot of stuff there. And I thought that there was a path. And then, at the most recent meeting, I just said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That there is no path.
Of course, Mark, you and I have talked along the way. What I believe, and I bring this drive from my work as a publisher for 15 years of my life. I believe it's important to try to get to the nut of the facts. You got to help get to the basic facts, because when people have the basic facts of a situation, then they can, and from a source they trust. I mean, let me add that they can then decide where they stand on the issue. So it's not my goal to say you must stand here or you must stand there. But I think what we've missed in this whole discussion, every step of the way, there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that has been contrary to some of the things that have been said out loud. For example, they focus a lot on, and I say the board these days focus a lot on the issues they had with Milton, was that he wasn't transparent. But then they go behind go into executive session, and they talk about more than, and you've been there before with them, they talk a lot more than personnel issues in executive sessions. They may be talking about board governance. They may be talking about the role of the executive director. There's a lot that's happening here that needs the light of day on it so we can better understand the situation. What we're going to do in the last segment is kind of boil down some of the basic elements that are a problem that probably need to be fixed. And the way I say it is part of the maturation process. But unfortunately, some people are digging in, and I wish they wouldn't do it. I wish they would see what's at risk here. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mark Henderson.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever, with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
These are our friends. These are our neighbors. We all have the power to grow our local economy and energize our community. Shop small businesses and make a difference.
SuperTalk Talk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On Super Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on Super Talk Mississippi, the Super Talk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I'm visiting with Mark Henderson. He owns Lazy Magnolia Brewery with his wife, Leslie, and he owns a company called Log Linear Group. They do sophisticated radar technology. He's an entrepreneur. He's a smart guy. He's very smart, and he's very entrepreneurial, and he's very much a problem solver. And he had to resign from Coastal Mississippi Tourism Board, not to quit, because he's not unengaged with this issue. He's just not involved in the commission directly anymore, because he could not solve that problem. You know, let's start with this, Mark. It's a problem to me that too many members of that board do not have a dog in the hunt. I mean, they may be good people. I'm not arguing with. I know every single person in this process except maybe one. The reality is they are good people, but groupthink can take over, and if they don't have a dog in the hunt, in other words, paying salaries on people in tourism and who understand how board governance works, we can get off base pretty rapidly, can't we?
We can. And I mean, if you look at the board makeup, I mean, as of the day I resigned, right, there was not a single casino executive on that board. Now, you think about what drives coastal Mississippi tourism. I mean, the numbers are, you know, in the 10 to 15 million, depending on whose count you're using. People every year come to visit the Mississippi Gulf Coast casinos. And I mean, when you look at those kinds of numbers, you know, to have a board that has zero input from the casino industry seems, I mean, it almost shocks the conscience. And, you know, we've had a lot of board turnover. You know, you just look at that and you're like, oh man, you know, we could stand to have people that are more directly influenced, you know, by the tourism business.
And we're talking publicly about the change. We're talking publicly about how so many in the casino industry supported Milton. I'm trying to make this not about Milton. It's the mechanism and the process that enabled that to happen, okay? But at the end of the day, it was not any secret to anybody that one of the big sort of contentious points was that too many people who were on the commission did not have a dog in the hunt. They knew that. But still, in the midst of all of this, they doubled down on putting more people on the board who don't come from tourism. And how do you advance the ball? How do you please your stakeholder group if you see them as a stakeholder group when you do the opposite of what they're wanting you to do?
I don't know. I mean, it was certainly a frustration of mine, and there was some beefs, right? People said, "Hey, look, Milton makes too much salary," and you know what? That's a reasonable discussion that people can have, but that was actually never brought up at the board. No one said that, and I struggle with it as well. It's like, if you want a good person, right? You don't put a mule in the Kentucky Derby. Right? You go and you make sure that you've got the finest thoroughbred and you let him run. And nobody is running around going, you know what the Saints need? The Saints need a cheaper quarterback. That's what they need. That's how we're going to get success. And you look at what the man did, you looked how hard he worked, you looked at what he actually achieved and what the results were, and his ability to build coalitions across the state of Mississippi, right? I mean, he fundamentally changed the room tax revenues on the coast. Didn't change rates. Didn't change any of that. But at the end of the day, last month, I think it was about $850,000 of room tax revenue. Now that's after years of our historical budget being about $4.5 million, and our monthly revenues being in that $400,000 to $500,000. That room tax revenues are up $300,000, and it doesn't appear to be like a fluke or some kind of correction. It appears to be genuine.
He was a data-driven leader, strategic,
Absolutely.
Extraordinarily strategic. And I have never had Milton on my show where he was anything other than a gentleman. He never used time between or after or before shows to say anything bad about anybody. It's incredible how kind he was and how respectful he was and how professional he was. And to learn later that he, during all of that time, was under enormous pressure, I was amazed that he didn't tell me. What he could have told me, because I have a long history of news involvement here in coastal Mississippi. I've been involved in some of the biggest issues since Katrina. But he never used his time with me to do anything bad. But he was accused otherwise, and people acted on that as if it actually, I believe they thought if they could say it enough that it would eventually come true. It never made it true, Mark. That's what's so disgusting about it.
He's never engaged in politics. Now, I can't say the same about me, and I can't say the same about other commissioners, but even if there are times when I had conversations with him like, hey, Mark, I do what the board says. I serve the board. If that changes, changes. But I'm not participating in doing any of that. And you just look at those kinds of things, and you're like, he's a stand-up guy. And, I was just absolutely flabbergasted.
If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And at the end of the day, this is a moment in time, as one casino executive said to me this morning, we learned during the pandemic that things that before were not possible are now possible. And the people who are aligned around this are very determined to make sure that this meltdown that we're watching, that they say is just administrative, we both know that's not the case, doesn't threaten our regional opportunities. Mark, thank you for spending some time with me today, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you.
Keep up the good work. Good luck to you on all your endeavors, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.